exercise, background, etc. And then maybe we'll open up for questions. Okay?
Sounds wonderful.
Perfect. It's yours. The stage is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Naniette Coleman. I am the founder and lead organizer for the SICSS-Howard Mathematica site in the United States. It is my honor to be party to the proceedings of one of the sites on the continent. So your family in the United States is incredibly proud of the work that you're doing and is excited to get to know you. I encourage you to reach out to us on Slack. I encourage you to follow us on Twitter so that we can follow you back. I encourage you for all of us to find a way to work together. The fact that we were able to pull off this one event this year that united all four of our sites, SICSS-Howard Mathematica, SICSS-JIAS IPATC, SICSS Covenant, and SICSS West and Central Africa is, as always, for people that look like us, what we do. And I'm so inspired to be in the space with you. I'm going to start my session with you in the same way I start our session every morning, by encouraging you, and I know you're later in the day than we are, but this is the way we start every morning. So I encourage you to be who you are and space are enough. Take care of your biological and technological needs as they come up. I also add psychological, sociological, metaphysical. You should eat whenever you need to eat. And our site, we say on camera, turn off your camera if you need to, have some water. And we encourage folks that everyone is a student, no matter what their business card says. So I think often we enter into these spaces and we feel we're expected because we're a little older, because our position is very fancy, that we are expected to know more. And I encourage you to take a student posture, to be a student in this space. I encourage our participants to set their intention for today and every day, and to start thinking about what their personal intention is for the Institute. Today is our last day of the Institute, but I'm like, it's never too late. You can set your intention today for the entire Institute. And I say, is there something specific you want to learn, a skill you want to begin to master? Or do you want to drink all from the fire hose from which is delivered and revisit after the Institute, since we tape everything? Maybe you just want to learn to collaborate better, or ask questions confidently, or practice R, or set your intention. It can change tomorrow. It can change midday. It's yours and yours alone. If you do not run your own race, someone else will tell you how to run it. So that's the way we begin. So I'm trying to remember all the questions that Malebo asked. So I'll do my best, but I'm looking for a healthy lift from the group of you with questions, as it is 5:30 in the morning here in Mountain Time in the United States, and I am still slowly caffeinating. All right, so a bit about our site. We were founded in 2020. We were not able to host due to the pandemic, but Howard and Mathematica have been architects and leaders in our universe in creating the SICSS since the very beginning. My colleagues, Calvin Hadley, who is a PhD candidate in sociology at Howard, as well as a senior advisor to the president of Howard on strategic initiatives, is someone I deeply admire, and this site would not be without him. And then Akira Bell, who is the CIO and a vice president at Mathematica, is also someone for whom I've developed a deep affection as well as respect. The three of us have spent many hours together working on this and creating this initiative over the course of 3 years. And I'm deeply appreciative of them. So I can't mention our site without mentioning them. So our intention is to create a space that is unapologetically Black, as we exist in a system writ large, and also a system within our country that doesn't like to see those spaces. So we are unapologetically Black. We elevate the work of Black women in particular. All of our speakers, our guest speakers, save for one in the last 2 years, has been a Black woman. We let Chris Wheat sneak in there. He's a friend of myself and Akira, and just an amazing human being. So he snuck in there. But all of our guest speakers, all 8 of our guest speakers have. Oh, that's not true, actually. No, like 6 6 of our guest speakers out of 8. We also had 2 other people who study people of color who were part of that as well. But the vast majority of our guest speakers, our lunchtime speakers, our motivational speakers are Black people and predominantly Black women. We also pause and take moments to celebrate Black women every day. If you look at our site, and I love when this happens and there's like no intention in our recruiting or anything that suggests it should be otherwise, but predominantly the folks that have attended our site the last 2 years have been Black women. So very, very proud of that. We follow to the T the curriculum set forth by our founder, so Matt Salgonic and Chris Bale, the first year. And this year, and this is a great transition to the activity we'll be doing today, this year we took the exercises that they created and we added, we either recreated them in our image, meaning the focus is now on anti-Black racism or inequity, or we just created new ones. We wanted, since our site has a theme, we're one of very few sites to have a theme. We wanted everything that we do to focus on that, because our first year on the exercise where and I'm assuming you've done this already, where we worked with Twitter data, we worked with data on Trump last year. And I'd say that a lot of us found that very triggering, especially on a site that focuses on anti-Black racism and inequity. So this year we focused on Howard alumna and Vice President of the United States, first Black and woman of South Asian descent, first woman in the United States, Kamala Harris. So we focused that activity on her. And likewise with all of our other activities over the course of the week, it had that focus already. So come to our Friday activity, which we did last week. And we wanted to elevate a mass collaboration exercise that not only focused on the Black experience, but also elevated one of our projects that we funded. So our site provides funding to just our participants for individual or group projects. I know that in past years, SICSS Umbrella has provided funding for research projects. Sadly, they're not able to do that this year, but our site for the second year will be providing funding to our students to do research projects. And we wanted to elevate one of those projects for mass collaboration exercise. So we chose Professor Nicole Jones, who alongside being a SICSS alumna from last year, 2021, has now elevated and joined the ranks of our faculty sponsors. So she is a faculty member in the sociology department at Howard and has elevated along with Amy Yeboah to take on the faculty sponsorship role at our site. So we elevated her and her project, her dissertation work, as well as the funded project from last year on the Crown Act. So by now you've seen the video on the Crown Act, so I won't go over that. It's also not my expertise, so I do not want to butcher that. I want to leave that to Professor Jones, Professor Jenkins. I think I said Jones there. So Nikki Jones is a very famous sociologist at Berkeley. I think I said Nikki Jones. So we'll say Nikki. So shout out to Nikki Jones. I'm talking about Nicole Jenkins, okay? So Professor Nicole Jenkins, who is at Howard University. So I will leave the description of the Crown Act to Nicole Jenkins' very adept hands. So you've watched that video now. So we wanted to present an opportunity for folks to think about the process of collecting data for an existing project. So as I said, this project was incubated last year. Nikki, along with her partner, who I believe is serving as a research assistant for her, Yesh Tatamala, created this project. And so you are being presented with a ready-made opportunity to help add to the work of another scholar. You're provided everything you need to think through that. And we have asked, and I'm not sure where you are in this process, we have asked that you split up into groups and think through that opportunity. So I imagine in your room, as with ours, you have people with lots of different academic backgrounds, with lots of different skill sets. And our hope is that in small groups, and then eventually at the end, we united everyone into one giant group for a conversation to make the decision about how the site should move forward. And I won't ruin our outcome if you haven't gotten to yours yet. But it was a lively discussion, and something that I'm quite proud of. I took great pains and time to incubate and think through this project with Professor Jenkins and with Yesh, and to connect with our founder, who runs most of our mass collaboration, including the Fragile Families Project, Matt Salgonic, to create this. And I hope you enjoy it, and we look forward to actually hearing feedback from you on that experience. So I think I went through my site, the Crown Act. I tend to forget to talk about myself in case other people ask, which is funny because I present as an extrovert. But I don't know what you want to know. I guess I could tell you I'm a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley. I had a circuitous path to the PhD study. I have master's degrees in economics and public administration, economics from the University of Buffalo, best university in the world in Western New York, home of Buffalo Wings. If you like Buffalo Wings, that's where they're from. I have a master in public administration from the Kennedy School at Harvard University. Also super proud to be an alumna. I call myself a Crimson Bull. Because Crimson for Harvard and then Bull for University of Buffalo. And then I'm also, as I said, a PhD student. I have a master's in sociology, and now I'm working on my PhD. I got the other two masters with the goal of working in the U.S. government, which I have. I've worked in international development as well. I worked for our Department of Commerce in our U.S. Trade Representative's office at Department of Commerce, advising companies mainly in Asia writ large on American companies on exporting products to Asia. Yeah, really circuitous route. I'm an older PhD student, so older in the U.S. context. I'm 44. So a lot of my colleagues could be my children, age-wise, older than a few of my faculty too, which is fun. But I'm very proud of my age and my presence in this space as an older Black woman, because everything that I've done comes to bear with my research. I study privacy, cybersecurity, and surveillance. I look at companies. Hello, Department of Commerce and U.S. Trade Representative's Office. I'm interested in the experiences of companies and how they engage and discuss their risk for breaches with their engaged publics, mainly investors. So I'm working through this dissertation. I'm gonna tell you today is a pivot point. Need to stop thinking a little bit about SICSS and get back to writing that dissertation. It's not going to write itself, no matter how many times I ask Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. It's not going to write itself. So big pivot point for me today. Very excited to jump back into my writing. I'm very fortunate to hold 3 predoctoral fellowships right now. Well, 2 predoctoral fellowships that are allowing me to focus on my writing after this. One at Los Alamos National Lab in New Mexico, which is where I'm writing to from. It's a UC-wide one that has funded me for 3 years to be able to just focus on my writing, and has also led to me being able to be deeply involved with SICSS, Howard Mathematica, and recently to accept a position on the advisory board for SICSS, which is super cool. And then also I am a maverick in residence at the Santa Fe Institute, which is a place for incubation of ideas across the academic and intellectual spectrum for people who study organizations and things that are organized. So I'm in residence at the Santa Fe Institute as well. And we'll be here feverishly writing my dissertation come tomorrow. Might take the weekend off. It's an important holiday in the United States. So might take the weekend off and kick back into it next week. So so that's me. I'm sure I skipped a lot of stuff, but I wanted to try and do right by the questions by my sister Malebo, who I admire and care for so deeply. The work that she is doing there is incredible. You are so lucky to have her as an organizer, and I hope, in addition to proving that with your feet and your presence and your engagement, that you hug up on this woman and give her some love at the end of this experience. She is doing God's work. Malebo.
Naniette, I love you. Thank you so much. Listen, everyone, did you hear that? I told y'all Something Soweto has an upcoming live gig in the next 2 weeks. It's 350 rands. I am accepting e-wallets, or buy me a ticket and then call me an Uber to go for their concert. Please.
And buy her a meal. You need to be eating something on the way there. Please.
Thank you so much, Naniette. I want you to talk about how important collaboration is, right? Because we met when I was part of the SICSS Stellenbosch 2020. That was like the pandemic, and
Yes.
that's when everyone was going virtual and it was hectic. And SICSS at that time had the festivals, and now I think Sydney had the festivals, but SICSS had the festivals. And one of the issues that I always had was that the people that were teaching, the organizers, they didn't look like me, and I'm sitting in Africa. And you know, the material was so Western focused, and you know, where were the Black voices? And I attended a session during the festivals, and mind you, the time zones, right? So there would be a session that I would have to wake up for like 2 a.m. to attend. And I think I've hopped on this issue of collaboration. And Naniette was giving, she was being interviewed by Matt, right?
Yes, by
What
Matt
do you
Salganik, our
remember the
founder.
title
Global
of
founder.
your?
It was discussions in diversity in computational social science, I believe.
Yeah,
Something like
and
that. Yes.
yeah, Nanette, and she just went on about everything that I was thinking about. And I was just like, snap, 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 snap. And I asked a question and she reached out to me and we've been inseparable ever since. And
Yes.
I remember saying, I remember last year in 2021, when we were just talking about possibly me starting a site in
Yes.
2023.
Yes.
It was just like, we don't know. But
And
here we
here
are.
we are. Woo!
But then it went further, right? We were like, no, let's actually start our own kind of umbrella site. And that's the SICSS
Mhm.
African descendants. And it's been such joy, right? You know, Naniette, our site here, our underlying value or what the heartbeat is Ubuntu, right? And I'm sure
Yes.
everyone sitting
Yes.
here, there's a name for that in every language. It's a value that a lot of us Africans, you know, are born into. It's about community. It's about love, and it's just really about being able to hold space for one another, and that's what the collaboration between Howard Mathematica, Covenant, Western Central Africa, and here Johannesburg has been, or South Africa. And we've just leaned on each other, on one another.
Yes.
It's been such a pleasure working with you and learning from you and just gleaning from you.
And you as well. You give me such life and energy. And if you all don't know, it's been over 6 months. We started every other week, and then even now during our sessions, we're meeting every week to just check in on each other.
Yeah,
So it's been beautiful, and I'm excited about the opportunities that are to come. You know, publications. I've mentioned to Malebo that you know, our teams at Howard Mathematica are open to collaborators from other sites, and collaborators joining some of the projects that will be funded. So we welcome your intercessions, your emails, we welcome you. Because we all will grow, and I think Evans was the one who said that the best people to study the continent and the work and the people are us,
yeah.
right? What do you say all the time, Malebo? We are the ones we've been waiting for.
We are the
I'm
ones
giving
who've
you
been waiting.
that quote as if it's not someone else's, you know. But you know, we want to be in, and I'm probably using, we want to be in Ubuntu with you all, like, you know. So
Yeah.
how do we build these cross collaborations? We love you already, and can't wait to connect.
Yeah, so that's the yeah, and I think I touched on that just before you joined. So I'm gonna open up for questions. I mean, we'll get into the exercise after Naniette leaves us because we're taking a little bit of a different angle, and I will put you in, Naniette, after this, and I will give you good feedback. But we'll record
Can't
everything.
wait,
Um,
please, can't wait.
okay, so if you have any questions, you know, the reaction button is there. Just show me your hand and then, or in the chat box, I'll take some questions for Naniette.
I see Okanofua. Thank you so much for the compliment. Oh, thank you, Zintathu. I'm probably announcing names incorrectly. Love all the appreciation. Ah! Yeah, I got my afro ready for this too, Angela.
Also, you're
Hopefully,
amazing. Yeah, we're in the company.
hopefully, I tried to shape it a little bit. I just rolled up out the bed. So let's not pretend this isn't my pajamas under this jacket.
Yeah, no, we've all gotten, to the T how to present ourselves
Exactly.
in front of the camera. All right, so yeah, I mean, you've watched the videos. Any questions that you have for Naniette on anything that she touched on, or
Or other
anything,
stuff.
other stuff like the videos that you've watched? Yes, Sasanda, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I wanted to check with the way the collaborations work. What motivates the public to come and actually contribute to a project in the way that it sounded like they do with the projects that were highlighted? So I'm not sure I understood everything, but it sounded like the projects get sort of publicized, and then people who are interested in participating either by collecting data or by classifying, analyzing, then come on board. So what motivates them? Is there remuneration? Is it an interest in science? I'm just thinking in our context, what would make somebody want to come and help me? What benefit do they derive? Yeah.
Great question. So I've gone back and forth with Matt about this, Matt Salgonic, because one of the things his book highlights is a focus on motivating people just for the good of science or having your name added to an article. And I'm like, yeah, if you're trying to feed your children, like, yeah, no, that's not enough. That's not going to motivate you to participate. Anytime I've done research out of the US context, we normally offer gifts or remuneration. So I think you have to dig in and understand the context you're in. If you're coming from a space where there's a survey culture, where people are regularly surveyed, by companies or research centers or things like that, and that's expected, or maybe you live in a place where on your cell phone you get regular like surveys, things like that, then just asking people to do it for the good of science is great. But for a lot of other places, a different context, we have to think about this a little bit differently. So I'd say that the thing that you all bring to the table is a unique mastery and understanding of your context, and I encourage you to speak it loudly into existence. So loud, in fact, that it disrupts existing thoughts, Western thoughts on the way that this should be done, and who should be asked. Because and I mentioned this in the video when I was interviewed by Matt. We in the U.S. context, we often have small n's for groups of color, and and we weight them. So all of a sudden, and this is an overstatement, but 3 people becomes 300. That it's not exactly true, but kind of. So so that means to me we're doing something wrong if we can't get people of African descent, people of Asian descent, people of Native American descent, people of Middle Eastern descent. I'm forgetting other descents, all the descents. And in our context, the intersections, LGBTQIA folks, people of different economic situations, educational situations. If we're not getting you, we are not, in my opinion, doing real science. If we are leaving people out, we are creating a voice for them instead of giving them their own voice. So I encourage you to dig deep into your context and figure out what the barriers are for true participation, and to scream those as loud as you can. And if we can amplify them here at SICSS-Howard Mathematica, we will. Malebo, at some point we'll share what happened at our site with this exercise, but I know that's an exercise specific question. And I would say that the work on this is not doing it necessarily the way that, anyway, it's figuring out what you want to do with this exercise and doing it your way.
100%. Any other questions? I know that this morning Angela was really excited. She tweeted,
I'm caffeinated. I can answer questions.
Natural hair and data science. I'm stoked. Angela, do you want to tell us more about that?
Yes.
Okay, because I was so I couldn't even imagine sociology digging that deep into data science. Like natural hair is the extreme of sociology, and I've never thought about computer science marrying sociology. Like that's a marriage that is so amazing. Like I'm lucky I'm a guest. I'm actually not a guest. I'm
Yes.
an organizer. I'm a planner. I really want to be working with it. But anyway, so Naniette, when you're talking about Black women's experiences on the video, you talked about how long your dreads were, and they were like
Yes.
7 years, and you were feeling like it was okay. Maybe this is a very personal question, but you were feeling like
No, ask away. Ask away.
you were feeling like it's a weight. It's a weight of your own life. So can you just talk a bit on that? Like, how can your hair,
Yeah.
because I love long hair and my hair doesn't grow so long. I'm really trying to grow it out, but it's not growing. And sometimes I'm like, it is what it is. Accept your genetics move. But like I'm like, how did you feel the weight of your life on your head?
Yes. So it's not evident right now for my little fro, but this is so thick. So I had 313 dreadlocks. I counted them when I cut them off. My locks were about, they weren't thick, 313, and they were physically heavy. So my neck was hurting. It was wonderful being warm in the winter. And it became a major part of my existence. So, I'd play with it when I was flirting or when I was thinking, and when they came off, when I cut them off, I would frequently find myself doing this, and I'm like, oh wait, there's nothing there. So it was such an important part of my existence. I had gone natural in high school, after, and you all have heard this, after wanting to transition out of having a curl style. And so I had been searching to figure out what that exact version of me was, what that would be. And it changes. My hair's long sometimes, it's short sometimes. It'll be purple at some point, I'm sure. I'm thinking ombre purple, not for the job market probably. But we have that ability to change it up, to mix it up. And so I think I'd been searching for that thing that was me. Before I locked it, I was doing 2-strand twists, or actually I had a friend who would braid my hair. So I had little braids that were just mine. And after I lost my mom, my mom and I, as with lots of Black women and their mothers, would spend a lot of time talking about our hair, caring for our hair, engaging about our hair. So for me, doing something that highlighted my hair, or that put me in a different space, and for me, that was the decision to lock it and to take away some of the everyday care that I was doing. Not to say that locks are no work; they are a lot of work. I still spend a lot of time at the salon for that. Um, it was something I felt like I needed to do for myself. And by the time I hit 7 years, alongside the fact that I started to feel that, and it wasn't Black people, but white people around me were treating me in ways that didn't align with how I looked at myself. Beyond somebody needs to mute, I can hear you. So but beyond that, it was just physically heavy. And I had locked it with the goal of thinking about my grief. So by the time I hit 7 years, and I think I made a mistake on the dates when I did this, but I locked it very soon after my mom passed away. It felt like it was time. And so those other things were happening around that, but when I made the decision to cut it off, it was a truly personal decision. And I'm sure you saw the picture of me with my attempt at doing my natural hair that was short, which was a whole lot of gel, and it was bad. There was a misfire with color there. So that was after I'd added color I'd bought at the store, but I had just a few hours before been blonde by accident. So the fact that I did not look like a fool when I stepped to the stage at the State Department was a gift from God. That was it, and it's gotten better. I've gotten better at doing my hair, and also accepting the beautiful ways that it presents itself on its own. But and I don't know if these are things that folks struggle with in contexts where you're the majority. What that type of culture and understanding is like, and I would love to understand that, and I'm sure that's something that Nicole Jenkins is studying as well. I know she's looking for collaborators on the continent and throughout the world. So if this is something of interest, I would encourage you to reach out through her website, or find her at Howard. It's not unusual for people to try and touch my hair here, ask me stupid questions about my hair. Or I had a barber recently tell me that his girlfriend was a vet, and I stopped him before he continued after he said the word poodle, and got my money back and left. But it's yet another thing in this space of systemic oppression and inequality that those of us who were untimely ripped from the continent have to deal with. And knowing your experiences and what it could have been for us, I think gives a lot of us life. So great question. And I look forward to your or other scholarship on the experiences of people on the continent with hair, because I hear it's very diverse across the continent. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very diverse because I don't know. My experience in South Africa has been like many women wear their natural hair, and I don't see a problem with that. And even like I see some prominent lawyers who are men wearing their natural hair into like the thick afros and whatever, but it's so different from my own context from Kenya where I come from. It's like this whole professional look, like a lawyer cannot look like this, or you must be an artist to look like that, and even artists.
And women in the U.S. context still deal with judges, lawyers. You bring up telling them, you leave my court until you come back wearing a skirt. There are all these things that especially are put upon women and people of color, that have to do with colonialism and the imprint of folks that don't look like us on our daily existence. So I encourage you to reach out to Nicole.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, Angela. I missed everything because my power went out at exactly 2 p.m. I was so absorbed in conversation that I forgot that my power was going, because I sent you my schedule, right? And so my network was also giving me issues, but it should be stable now. Zimasa's power is also out. And so sometimes when you load shed it, your network also kikitas. It does. All right.
I have to tell you all how much I love South Africa. So I did a 17-day trip with my godmother. My godbrother lived in South Africa for about 20 years. And married a South African woman, and they have beautiful children. And so she would bring people to the continent, and specifically to South Africa every year so she could see her son. So I went on her last trip, and me and my spouse loved it so much that we went back and spent a month in Cape Town on a writing retreat. I am always looking for excuses to come to South Africa. So yeah, love it there. Love. I was there for the Mandela 100 concert. When Beyonce and Jay-Z came, I was screaming in the audience. I was like, ah! Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was in Miami at that time, so you were
We
excited.
swapped places. We swapped places.
I'm not part of the hive, so I was like, it's okay.
I mean, girl, we are all part of the hive. You may just not know that you're part of the hive, but we are all
I do sneak
blessed
in
to be
some
part of the
honey
hive.
here and there. I do sneak in some honey here and there, but anyway.
If I'm honest, I went to see Oprah.
Oh.
Oprah has not adopted me yet, but I needed to see Oprah. It was all about seeing Mama Oprah.
I'm Oprah's secret daughter, by the way.
Me too. She just doesn't know it yet. Love you, Stedman.
I sent you the JIAS fellowship details, so hoping you get to come back this side.
Yes, I would love that.
Okay, so now you had said that you watched the videos. What happened when you were watching the videos? You commented a little bit earlier on. Can you please tell us?
What videos? What are we talking about?
We're talking about your videos.
No,
you asking me or are you asking them?
I'm asking now.
Oh, okay. I'm like, when I watch the videos.
There's a Naniette in the room now. Thanks, Malibu. No, I loved how Naniette presented her stories. It was very tearjerking at some point, especially about the time when she locked her hair and when she had to cut it and what that represented. But also it was funny in a way, but now I'm thinking while we're having this conversation, how the symbolism of hair itself, in our cultures, for instance, you lose a close relative, we cut our hair as a symbol of
mourning, for instance. We represent, hair is represented by so many aspects of our lives. And I also wanted to comment, Naniette, that we still experience those kind of injustices in South African schools. For instance, my two daughters have locks, and the school at some point wanted them to cut their hair because it's not school policy to have dreadlocks. So it was a bit of a journey traveling with the school and making them aware that we're not going to cut their hair. Unfortunately, sorry, hair is hair. So I just wanted to comment on those issues. Thanks, Malibu.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's so interesting in South Africa that a lot of the organizing around the schools have been done by the the learners themselves because of hate discrimination. And it's just been interesting to watch them, kind of like have their own voice, if I have to say, and just lead their own narrative and say we won't accept this, because the experiences are different between my time and their time, because
Yes.
and I think I think like the South African hair experience is a little bit different. I did a research on the politics of hair. I think it was around 2008 or 9, and I have the podcast. It was when in my radio days, and I'll share it with the group, and I'll also share it with you, Naniette. And it was just interesting to collect the different experiences on the continent, and also the relationships of, not that we are all a monolith, but the relationships of Black women in South Africa and their hair, because of apartheid, how closed off they were during apartheid. So they missed a lot of the Madam Walker, CJ Walker times, and a lot of those things. And also when we think about the civil rights movement, right into the apartheid resistance movement, how hair was so important, right? It was in the throes of the politics. And just the different relationships that everyone has with their hair. I know that I don't even remember a time I straightened my hair because my mom was just like, this is not happening, right?
Yep.
And then
Mine too.
I think, yeah, and then when I was a teenager, I was like, why is my hair like this? And everyone's hair looks different from mine. And my mom was like, you want to experience it? And I did, and my skull burnt. I was like, never.
Yeah, once you get the live burn, it changes your life a little bit. Got little scabs.
But now I have, and I've always worn my hair natural. I've always cut it and whatever. And people always thought I was part of the natural hair movement, and I've never been part of that. I have a different relationship with hair. But now my relationship with hair is quite traumatic because I have alopecia, right? And so sometimes I'll wear this afro and people will comment, and I'll be like, even like people who will comment and be like, when you have your natural hair, you look great. You don't need that, and then people having the right, even within our communities, having the right to talk about my hair, right? And I'd be like, well, maybe I'm working through stuff. So it was just interesting for me to think about my own experience with hair at this point, and if I would be answering that survey, how I would feel. But I don't want to probe anything for the exercise, but it was just for me thinking about our different
I would say it could be interesting for someone to probe and engage in a very targeted way on the experiences of Black women with alopecia. So it's it's on the lips of many people because of a certain thing that happened at the Oscars that we're not going to talk about. But I know quite a few Black women with alopecia, and I'd say it's a community that many people don't know and don't know their experiences. So I think there's some very interesting research there. I don't know what the percent of the population and the Black population is with alopecia, but I think there's some important studies and important work there. And thank you for sharing.
And how how it presents itself in different ways. And some people just think, oh, my hair doesn't grow, or I just this and this, and then when they actually investigate it, well, there's an opportunity there. I'm actually interested in hearing from other. Barbara, are you here? Barbara.
Just
And
one last comment,
I do
Malebo.
have to say I have to start the organizer meeting, the last organizer meeting for SICSS-Howard Mathematica in 8 minutes.
No,
So I
that's
have to
fine.
switch
No,
over to Zoom.
you're here till 2:30 and it's 2:22, so don't
No,
worry.
that's exactly the time I have to. So I need a
Okay.
few minutes to get
Okay.
organized
You
before
are
we
here
start. Yes.
till we'll give you four more minutes and we'll release you.
That'll work.
And-
Yeah. I can do 4 minutes.
Now,
No, I just wanted to say, isn't it also amazing that it's the Black women or women of color who have hair stories than our white counterparts? You know, we have many hair stories. You know, it's just amazing.
yeah, and I think it will be interesting for us in terms of going through that exercise. I think I'm really looking forward to see what comes out of it.
There's an educational element here too. You know, we created those videos for folks that are at sites where there are no Black people. You know, to think about our stories and to understand. So there's an educational component to what we're doing as well, and we can't wait to hear and see your stories as well.
Awesome. All right. I wanted Barbara because I've had a similar conversation with Barbara, and I wanted her to just, and I can see that she's not here. If there's no one else, any last comments? If nothing, then we will release you, Naniette. Thank you so much.
And I'm gonna put our email address for the site here. I'm the one that checks it, and this will mean that I will see your message, because if it goes into my Berkeley or my other email account, it gets swallowed up. So if you write there, I will happily write you back. We'd love to hear your experience with the exercise, but just also I would love to just get to know you.
And please, if you do something for yourself, is to actually send Naniette an email. Yeah.
Love to see hair pictures. Cute kids with locks. Love to see those pictures.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is our last virtual day. We all get to meet in person next week. I'm so excited.
Virtual day, last virtual day.
Pictures. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being our highlight today. We appreciate you.
And I appreciate you, and we will amplify this video. Send it to them. We'll make sure we shout you out, and please follow us on social, and we'll follow you back. Lots of love to you all from your U.S. sisters and brothers.
I thought you were going back to bed. You're going to work. Sorry,
I'm
sis.
going to work.
Bye.
Going to work.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. All right, everyone. Let me stop the recording.